Hello and welcome back to the channel. I'm Coach Chris McMahon, and today we're going to talk all about maintenance 101 because you have just lost a ton of weight and now you're worried about maintaining. So before we go any further, look, if you're brand new to the channel, thank you for being here. Please make sure you subscribe, you turn on notifications, and you comment below with any questions about this video. I'm always happy to answer, and give a thumbs up if you found this video helpful. If you find this video helpful, actually, let's be in current tense, not past tense. Look, if you're brand new to this whole fat loss thing, you don't know where to get started, you need some help, you just click below, get my free calorie calculator, and that'll put you in the right direction. Plus, you'll be on my email list, which means I'll be able to send you my best content. No spamming, I promise. Now let's dive in. On this board that I'm going to hold here, we have 5 different things. Number 5 is what you're actually after, which is how to transfer to maintenance, but I don't want you skipping around because number 1 through 4 is really important. So number 1, the number 1 goal for dieters. The number 1 goal for dieters is to not be fucking dieting any longer. That's something you need to keep in the back of your mind. If you're someone who's always jumping from diet to diet, yo-yoing around, that's really not sustainable. It's not healthy to gain and lose the same amount of weight, maybe more, consistently. That's just not what we're actually after. If that is what you're after, I'm interested to learn about why that's what you're after. But the truth is, the goal is actually to get to maintenance. It's how you can thrive, how you can survive, how you can have more energy. We don't need to be dieting all times. The goal of any fat loss phase is to eat as much as possible while losing weight and then be done with it. That's really the number 1 goal. And maybe that's not what you're used to hearing because you've never been at maintenance. Maybe you've never been at maintenance. You have no idea what that feels like to not want to lose more weight. And maybe in the back of your mind, maybe you do lose the weight. But then up here, it just is the story over and over again that you're just going to gain the weight back. So what's the point? So I promise you, this video is going to make sure that that doesn't happen anymore, okay? You have to stick with me. You have to trust in the process here because number 2, the big fear about maintenance. There's this fear with maintenance that you are going to see the scale go up, that clothes aren't going to fit any longer. I'm not going to lie to you. The scale does go up, but it's not fat. No, you are eating more food when you're at maintenance than when you're in a deficit. When you're in a calorie deficit, you're taking calories away so that you can lose weight. When you're gaining weight, you're adding calories in, so you're in a calorie surplus. And when you're at maintenance, you're eating enough so you can support your body at its current body weight. So yeah, you're not going to be as lean as you were when you were your leanest. However, you're going to have more energy. You're going to be able to maybe sleep better. You're going to find that you're maybe less cranky, that you have better workouts, that you're able to build more muscle because you're fueling yourself more properly. Like, there are all these benefits to being at maintenance. So what does that mean? Well, it's not fat on the scale. It's increased food volume in your stomach, which is food, which is poop. It is increased glycogen in your muscles, which is water, basically, that we're storing in our muscles. It's nothing bad, nothing to worry about. And like everything, the scale fluctuates, right? So it's not like you're gaining a ton of fat. What you're actually gaining is the possibility to build momentum going forward, which is pretty cool. Number 3, the 2 biggest mistakes that you'll make when you enter maintenance, or most people make, is number 1, they treat it like a fucking free-for-all, right? They just eat without tracking whatsoever and eat a lot. Like a lot, right? That is the biggest problem. And the reason why it turns into that is because they've reduced their calories so low and they've just white knuckled their way through this that they're counting down the days until they are done with their diet. And when that happens, then they just go and they go crazy because they have taken away all the food that they enjoy eating. They have restricted to a point where it's not something that's very sustainable. And yes, a calorie deficit really isn't a sustainable thing. You're not supposed to be trying to lose weight forever. But at a certain point, you should still be including the things you enjoy eating. You should not reduce your calories to a point where all you think about is food. So that's problem number 1. Problem number 2 would be that you're so used to being in a calorie deficit that you don't eat close to your maintenance calories because you're afraid of the scale going up. If you never eat close to your maintenance calories or hit maintenance calories, then you're going to continue to lose weight, but that might not even be your goal any longer. You just want to maintain your weight, right? So that's problem number 2. We want to really kind of steer away from that. Number 4, you have 2 options here. You could be the short-term maintenance person or the long-term maintenance person. The short-term maintenance person is someone who just needs a bit of a diet break. It could also be someone who just needs a couple months off to a full year off to maybe longer, right? That because you're seeing that you have diet fatigue, and it's a great way to combat that. Now, if you've been in a deficit for like 2 weeks, I really don't suggest taking a diet break. It's something that as you get better and more experience, you'll be able to tell when you need one. But that's one version. The other is the long term. There are some people who lose the weight and then they don't want to lose the weight anymore. And there are some people who go into a calorie surplus, put on weight because they're trying to put on muscle, and they never want to do that again. They just want to coexist or exist with the size they currently are long term. And that's a beautiful place to be. I think deep down at the core of it, that's where everyone eventually should be, because we don't always want to be dieting. We want to be comfortable in our own skin. So if you're at that point, awesome. So now we have to talk about how to. How do you determine your maintenance calories? Well, there are 2 ways you can do this, okay? And this is like the abridged short version, because we could talk about science, because technically when you're entering maintenance, you might have to reverse out of the calorie deficit you've been in. Reverse dieting just means slowly adding calories back in until you hit a point where your weight stabilizes itself, and it's a nice way to do this without gaining a ton of weight. For some individuals, that it could work. Most people who reverse diet, though, like actually reverse diet, are those who are like physique competitors, bodybuilders, models, certain actors for a role like a reverse diet. If they have to look a specific way for a longer period of time, that's not really as sustainable. I don't think that's what you have to be concerned about. But technically what it is, it's adding about 10 to 15% of your calories over time until your weight stabilizes. Because what you'll find is that you could add calories back in, but continue to lose weight. And the reason why you continue to lose weight is because this entire time, while you've been in this deficit, you've increased your activity level. Maybe you've increased the muscle mass you have, right? All of those affect your basal metabolic rate. It affects the amount of NEAT, or non-exercise activity thermogenesis, that you're doing, which affects how many calories you are technically burning throughout the day. So we have to look at it from that point of view. So the non-sciencey way of it is you could technically take 5A, which is adding 200 to 300 calories to your total weekly calorie intake. So what does that look like? Well, you would divide that number by 7 and it would give you how many calories to add in. Or you could do like 100 extra calories to 100 to 150 extra calories to your daily calorie total that you're aiming for. And what you would do is then over the course of 4 weeks, you're going to take your weekly average, weekly weight average. This is important because we don't want to just guess to see. We want to be as accurate as possible, and using averages can help us see a trend, right? If we're still trending downward, then we know we need to add more calories back in. We would add like 150 calories in, and then we would continue watching, right? Or if we see the scale going up, 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 when we see that trend, then we know we probably should take some calories away so we can find this middle ground. It could take like 4 to 5 weeks to actually find and determine what your maintenance calories is. So that's A. B is something that you can do if you're just like, all right, I'm done with this. I don't want to be slow about it. So you have an option here. If you want to be more conservative, which is what I recommend, you would do your current body weight times 14. Current body weight times 14. And that number that it gives you would be your technical estimated maintenance calories. Again, this is all an estimation. If you want to be more like, I just want my calories up, you can do times 16. But you would see the scale go up a little bit faster, and that can freak some people out. So again, 14 is more conservative. And then what you would do is you would take your weekly average. And again, I would do this for about 2 weeks. So 2 weeks, stay with the calories that you get from this equation, and then take your weekly average every week. The way you do that is you weigh yourself every single day. And at the end of the week, you take all those numbers, add them up, then divide by 7. That will give you your weekly average. We work off averages because it can give you a trend. You can see what's going on. Do that for 2 weeks. If the weight has stayed the same, don't do anything. You're going to go for another 2 weeks. If it's still the same, then you found your calorie maintenance. If it is not the same and you find that the scale is going up, you would subtract 150 calories from your daily total, like what your calorie range for that day is, or for the days are. And you do this again for 2 to 4 weeks. Notice any trends. If you notice that you are still losing weight over that time, you would add another 150 calories to your weekly total. Now, this is really how you figure out your maintenance. It is a game of guess and check, but here are all the benefits. You're going to have more energy. You're going to be able to understand what maintenance looks like. Maintenance, you're not going to be one number forever. You're going to float around like a 3 to 5 to 10 pound range. I say 5 to 10 pounds is realistic maintenance because no one is one number forever. You're not. And it's all about how you feel, your energy levels, how you're recovering from training, what your sleep is like, what your relationship with food is like, what your relationship with the scale is like body image. There are so many things that wrap into this, but maintenance is such an important thing. And what I actually recommend is taking diet breaks during your fat loss phase so you can practice being at maintenance for 4 weeks at a time. For my clients who are very small, like I'm talking like 5 foot, we'll do 1 month in a deficit, then 1 month at maintenance, 1 month in a deficit, 1 month at maintenance, and we'll go between the two. Do you lose weight as fast? No, but it is something that's more sustainable and teaches you these skills. Now, I forgot to mention there is a bonus here. Number 6 is how to transition out from tracking calories. Because here's the deal. I actually want you to view maintenance as an extension of your fat loss phase, right? I don't recommend stop tracking calories. You're going to track calories this entire time. Because if you go where you just stop altogether, you're more likely to overdo it pretty easily because you've been in a fat loss phase for so long. You're not adding that much in. 150 calories is not that much. So you actually have to track so you can see and be more precise so we can see what's actually going on. So what you can do is after a few months of this, let's say another 2 to 3 months of being at maintenance, you're not just going to go cold turkey and stop tracking altogether because a lot of people are afraid of doing that. And remember, tracking is only a tool. Like you can do many different forms of tracking, but I'm saying tracking calories is a tool. It's not the only tool you can use. So we eventually want to transition out of this so we can get to more of an intuitive approach. Intuitively eating just means you're aware of portion sizes more easily, which you should be if you've been tracking for a while. So here's the formula. I'm going to lay it out for you. What you'll do is instead of going to 0 days, you'll go 6 days tracking, 1 day without tracking. Then the following month, you'll do 5 days tracking, 2 days without tracking. Then the following month, you'll do 4 days tracking, 3 days without tracking. Then the following month, you'll go 3 days tracking, 4 days without tracking, 2 days tracking, 5 days without tracking, 1 day tracking, 6 days without tracking, and then 7 days without tracking. You'll do that month to month to month. It takes a while, and that's okay. Because to be honest, you didn't gain your weight overnight. It took time. Just like losing weight didn't happen overnight. It took time. Just like transitioning out of tracking with calories will take time. And by being at maintenance and learning to be comfortable with scale fluctuating, just like it did with fat loss, it's going to be really helpful. So look, those are all the tips and tricks to maintenance 101. I really, really, really am glad that you were able to check this out. If you found it helpful, make sure that you are subscribed to the channel. You drop a thumbs up. What was your biggest takeaway from this? Just comment below and let me know. If there's another aspect of fat loss you want me to talk about, let me know because I will. And look, again, if you are like really overwhelmed by a lot of this, you can just click the link below, get my calorie calculator. It will help you figure everything out. All you got to do is drop your email address and then you get a calorie calculator as a thank you. Remember, you're 1 day away from getting back on track and 1 day away from realizing how fucking amazing you are.